Well, ladies and gentlemen, incredible India is known for its deep cultural heritage, diversity, palaces, colors, and cuisine. We're talking about moving to our first session of the day. Let's hear what the hospitality veterans have to say on heritage and environmental tourism, a reality check. Well, the moderator of this session is Aman, Nath, founder and chairman, Neemrana Hotels, and the panelists include His Highness Maharaja Gajsingh Ji Babji of Jodhpur, founder president of Indian Heritage Hotels Association Jaipur, Maharaj Kumar Lakshyaraj Singh Ji Mewar of Udaipur, executive director HRH Group of Hotels, Abinash Manghani, the CEO of WelcomHeritage. We've got Jose Domenic, CEO CGH Earth Group, and we've also got Steve Borgia, the CMD INDeco Leisure Hotels. I would now like to call on screen Mr. Bhuvnesh Khanna, CEO BW Communities, to join me.
Bring everybody in.
Yes, let's do that.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one show which I have eagerly awaited, right? It's an amazing show. You've got the best names. Yeah. So we've got the best names in the business on show today. You have Aman, you have Maharaja Gajsingh Ji, you have Maharaj Kumar Lakshyaraj Singh Ji, Steve, Jose, and Abinash. They all lead the heritage and environment tourism properties and business in the hospitality industry. Without much ado, I will not take too much of time. I shall bring in Aman to lead the show.
I could start by saying actually that the spade work for this has been done by Himmat, and it's unfortunate that he's not well, and I have been catapulted to become the moderator when I was only supposed to be a participant, and I am not somebody who's good with statistics, but I'm a man of action, a man of the field. So I think it's interesting that we talk on whichever subjects, and I'm not sure I like the idea of being called a veteran, because I always think of bullet marks, and when you're called a veteran, as Josie is also called so often, but we are young warriors still. Okay, so I think that should we actually begin, because then we'll be short of time at the end.
Yeah, begin.
Yeah, hear me. If you can't see him, can he hear me? Would you know?
He will be able to hear you. Where I'm fixing this, I'll go on mute. You start.
No, as Priya said, that we are all optimists and we are players in the field. We are talking today of environment and heritage, which are both very physical things, and we are, all of us, in different capacity, important players on this physical landscape of India, bringing our positivism, our optimism to this. So I think the first question, which actually was laid out by Himmat, was that each of you now can give two reasons.
I've lost the sound.
There are 6 questions, and we are going to take about 10 minutes on this so that we don't overrun it at the end, and we'll have a few extra minutes for ideas which you can note down during the course of our conversation, so that it's not entirely chaotic. So would each of you talk about the 2 reasons for our lack of achievement on the front? On the fronts we are talking. I'm saying that so the 2 reasons. I think that we could begin with Joe's, because what do we say? I don't know. It could have been Babji, but then it will have to be beauty before age. Joe's, you can be first to tell us what is the best and the worst in the scenario of environment that you have seen in Kerala and in heritage, or in other parts wherever you're present. Now, the first question which was framed was that we have to think of 2 reasons for our lack of achievement in the fields of environment and heritage. I don't think that we are doing so poorly on heritage, but of course we can do much better. So I thought perhaps, Babji, you can tell us about the best foot forward, Rao Jodha Desert Rock Park, if you want, the water conservation projects, which we know a little bit about. And what is the worst in your region where an environment is being put to, endangered, and heritage being endangered. So that first we look at the problems, and then if we see there are some solutions on the national front.
Fine. Let me quickly answer the first one. Heritage, I think when you say we're doing quite well, I think Rajasthan is doing well. And also, in fact, in the other states, I think apart from Kerala, they're all in single figures. Kerala is the only one in double figures. And Rajasthan is in triple figures. So I think a lot more can be done in other states. And I think what happened in Rajasthan was that, necessity was the mother of inventions. And basically, they were all landlords, most of us. And when the lands went, there was nothing to do. And therefore, tourism came as a godsend. And so everyone got involved. And the real pioneers were there. And the pioneers were the founder members of the heritage movement. So I think the problem in other states is that people are preoccupied with other things. They don't quite, they don't have that passion that the owners in Rajasthan have. And in Rajasthan, people like you, Aman, came in as entrepreneurs and also did a great job. So that model we've been trying to spread around. We've been talking to other states, state ministries, and they have launched various heritage policies, and hopefully we can push it further. On the question of environment, yes, I think a lot needs to be done in environment, particularly environmental tourism. I think here we're stuck with a problem because I don't think anyone has a real definition of what heritage tourism is all about. We all have our different ideas. Are you talking about taking tourists to an environmentally friendly place and allowing them to mess it up? Is that heritage tourism? Or are you going to cut these places off and have very limited footfall there? So I think we need a proper, a full holistic definition of what heritage environment tourism has to be. You spoke about Desert Park in Jodhpur. That we have, it's a wonderful project. And Pradeep Krishna, the tree man of Delhi, he's on it. And it's very unusual because it's not a park in the normal sense. We are reintroducing, removing firstly all the kikar and the juliflora, which has been done. And in those crevices left behind, he has been planting all kinds of seeds of indigenous plants and grasses, which are not obviously seen. But when you go to a little brochure and you look at the flowers that come, then you realize. So now we have in one place, which is just at the root base of the fort, a kind of repository of a lot of not only what was there locally originally, but what has been brought in from other parts of the desert, which are actually slowly getting extinct. So you will have a kind of repository to actually look back on and
is
see
it
what we've
becoming
got
like
there.
a museum?
Hello, sorry?
Is it becoming like a museum? Because then you can,
Yes,
you've got all the samples there.
It's more than a museum. It's become a kind of laboratory for future botanists to have a look at. What's been damaged most in Rajasthan is, I think, our mining is totally out of control. Mining, and now recently we've got this oil. And in Barmer area, the total destruction of the land and a lot of the water table, which is criminal, is happening.
But those are lobbies, how do we deal with those lobbies? Because the tourism lobby is very weak compared to, political lobbies.
Yes, we have, but we've been taking them on via INDeco, and we have had a few successes in court cases. In fact, there's one very excellent example of a village coming together, a whole village, and
Uh-huh.
they filed. We helped them, and they filed the application to the Green Tribunal, and the Green Tribunal gave a wonderful judgment. And what was to have been, it was some electrical station was being put up in the catchment area, which is going to affect a lot of villages around, and one of the main water tanks. And it was shut down, and they were asked to move it. And the villagers had a victory. It is a great example. And I think we need to have more people, public awareness. There's no good NGOs doing these public interest things. The people themselves
Perhaps
have
what
to be.
we could do, because Joe's missed his turn because of a technical glitch. Perhaps Joe, are you on, because he's off the screen again? So maybe we could move to Abinash then, because he's a national player, if one can call him that, So he can tell us of the best and the worst that we've seen, because I think it's very important to be conscious of the good that is being done and the worst that we have to deal with, so that we as a national lobby we can talk about it. Abinash, would you like to say?
So I only wanted to add on to what His Highness just mentioned regarding how we need to promote the history, culture of this country and its monuments vis-a-vis the environmental areas in tourism. So I have seen in the last so many years that one of the main reasons that we haven't succeeded is that I feel that this subject, or both these subjects, except in maybe places like Rajasthan and Kerala, fall between stools, either in the government, in the policy makers, or even in industry, because everybody believes that it is somebody else's job to sort of promote or develop these two subjects. And one of those reasons is because there's a lack of ownership in stakeholders, that this whole process, which is frankly very live in India, tends to take a back seat. In all my various travels internationally, however, I have encountered people who are really interested in these two subjects. When the traveler, the international traveler at least, first let's discuss the international traveler, thinks about India, his first point of notice is the history and culture and the buildings and the heritage of this country.
Absolutely, yes.
However, the country itself is not sort of promoting it the way your so-called customer wants to, who wants to come to your country or our country. Similarly, people who go to, let's say, Kerala, they're very interested in the Ayurveda form of wellness, and again, there's a lot of interest there. And it is not only Kerala that can offer environment-oriented tourism. There's the Andamans, there is the Himalayas, there is the Northeast. There are so many locations in this country where this can be done. Again, I think this issue falls between stools. So I think there is a mismatch in the market where the consumer or the traveler wants to see what he wants to see, while in India we start promoting different products which we can promote. That's on the international side. I also feel that COVID allows us to reset this entire mode.
No, that is a separate question. We'll come to that later, because
right.
There's six questions. We'll talk about that. But I feel one thing. I mean, I think I'm saying this as a moderator and also as a participant, that I don't think that there is a lack of drive or willpower at the highest level. So it goes from PM to CM to DM to SDM to Tehsildar to the citizen. Now it's such a long way that it gets diluted at every step. I think that we should be making a jump from the PM to the citizen, if it's possible, because there are, let's say, 500 plus districts in India, and if this heritage consciousness and the environment consciousness is taken up by citizen groups, because the DM is boggled with so many things. He's got a daily mess happening. This is not one of his priorities, and tourism is not his priority. So instead of waiting for that whole process from DM to CM to whatever I was saying, that train thing, we should jump the bogie, and the locomotive and the last bogie should get connected so that faster action takes place. I think should we move to the next question, because we spent enough time on this, no, Bhuvnesh?
Yeah.
What do you feel? Yes? All right. So there is a feeling that tourism is a partial destroyer of the environment, which is not entirely true. Depends who's reasoning, where and how. So Lakshyaraj, you are a wonderful spokesperson for Udaipur. You're a physical stakeholder, and you've seen the best and the worst in Udaipur. So perhaps you could talk on this subject of, if tourism hadn't come to Udaipur, would it be what it is? Would it be better preserved, and so on? You understand what I'm saying, yes?
Greetings to everyone. First and foremost, wishing everybody a very happy Teachers' Day. I know it's going to be tomorrow, but I think one couldn't begin on a more happier, positive note where you celebrate your gurus, where you celebrate your teachers. And thank you for all for coming together on this occasion. Coming to your question, Aman, as well, I think the word destroyer is an exceptionally harsh word for people generally in Rajasthan or in our beautiful country for it to be used. I don't think as a DNA we are people who like destroying things very aggressively. I'm sure there are slip-ups that do take place. There are things that don't kind of go according to plan. We could be slightly insensitive, careless, all of that. But I don't think that deep down, if you pick up that intent, that there is that feeling of wanting to destroy. On the other front, on the contrary front, what I would really like to say, I think we have all been, especially people from our land would know that we have been great preservers rather than great destroyers. I think the fact that we've been able to preserve so much and and going back a little bit into the past, the fact that there were reservoirs that were created, there were forests that were created, there was an entire ecosystem that was created on which the entire civilizations have sustained. And also, if this was the outcome or the approach, things that were built in our land hundreds and thousands of years ago, would they be still serving the population of today? Giving a small example in terms of Udaipur, the population in 1947, the population of Udaipur was 45,000 people. Today, it's roughly around 10 lakh people. It is the same infrastructure that is supporting 10 lakh people that was created 300 years ago. Now, is that an example of something being destroyed? Or is that an example of something being preserved? Even in independent India, the job that was done hundreds of years ago.
Lack of planning, wouldn't you say?
Secondly,
because we are...
I think sensitivity. I think the fact that these reservoirs, lakes, infrastructure was created hundreds of years ago and it still sustains today.
But I'm
is
saying, let's
commendable.
talk, suppose you were still in charge of all these matters, you could have put up another band and made another lake in another low-lying area. But the government hasn't done it for whatever reasons. Its priorities are not that. But how do we get to this? We need the vision of the erstwhile rulers, because they were interested in ecology. They understood all these things about the people. And how do we get the government and this thinking to come together? Because there's no continuity in government. 3 years, 5 years, a new guy comes and you have to start from zero. And therefore the result...
The simple approach to this mindset, Aman, is very, very clear. The forefathers thought generationally. Now the thought is yearly or daily.
Absolutely, okay.
Earlier, the ideology that thought through very, very clearly, all our ancestors, all our elders who were there, who thought very clearly that what is going to happen 10 generations later, what is going to happen 20 generations later, what is going to happen 5 generations later. Today, the question is, are we actually thinking what is going to happen 1 week later, or what is going to happen 24 hours later? So till this time that the poverty of the mind is not addressed, you will never be able to make progress. And ultimately, it is not anything else that we are poor about or have been ever in our land. If there has been, and today, if we are exhibiting, it is the poverty of the mind and nothing else. And at the same time, the idea here is not to prove. We are not here sitting to prove. The idea is to improve. We need to add to that. We are not here to kind of say that this is what has been done or this is what we are doing and here we are trying to show a certificate. That has never been the ideology, thought process, or the approach. But yes, the ideology and the thought process has certainly been to keep improving. And somewhere or the other, that has come to a standstill. And that is exhibiting a great poverty of mind, unfortunately. And we are all part. It's not as if you can just put the blame on one individual or a section or a segment or an individual. But at the end of the day, I think we are all party to it. This is something that is happening right in front of our eyes. We see it unfold. And I think rather than participating in it, we need to start involving ourselves in it. The biggest thing that
I think the best person to talk in our group about it, not best because we are all doing something, but I think Steve is a very active spokesperson, and he puts theory and action together. And all that we hear of him, all that we see of him, he's able to manage this lack of connect that we are talking between citizen and government, and I think he does it very well. So perhaps Steve, you can tell us, not just Swami Malai and beyond that, if there are some tips of how the government should feel a more continuous stakeholder in Jodhpur, Udaipur, Neemrana, wherever, because the country belongs to all of us, and we are delighted that every part of the country, the environment is preserved. When we are talking about environment, even the dunes, whether you go to Marwar or Jungle Desh, I mean, that is environment. It's rare, for somebody, if he comes from Scandinavia, to just see dunes, but then we need that kind of hotel, that kind of experience, India should be selling such a diversity and that nobody gets left behind. Steve, tell us.
Thanks, Aman, Hukum Babji, and all the panelists, Bhavnish. I'm happy. Somewhere down the line, I feel we are celebrating Corona today. The organizers have given us that kind of a mood, and so I think we should celebrate. Coming to what we are discussing, I feel there is no need to invent something. There is no need to do anything. This country deserves something that is appropriate. Somewhere, Corona has pushed us to that space where we should be looking at. Everybody is now looking at experiential holidays. They want to go to rural areas. They want to be alone in a fort, in a palace. Lovely. This is what we should have started concentrating 2-3 decades ago. Unfortunately, nowhere in the policy or in the mindset or in the action plan of the government, be it the federal government or the state government, we had a focus on this. All these destinations have come about because of individuals. There is someone who created a hotel in a forest area, someone in a green field, someone in a fort. How many people have passed through the Neemrana fort staring at you when you pass to Jaipur? Nobody thought of it as a hotel. Or the place where I am. We put through 3 villages and created a hotel. We never changed anything in the village. So the opportunity is phenomenal. We never explored. Of course, as Babji said, there are certain passionate people in this country who took to it. Yes, there are a lot of thanks. But I think as a country, we need to look when I can do something or you can do something or they can do something, the country can do a lot more. At least look at supporting them.
No, but the specific address to you is that you are able to involve, the locals. And what is your relationship with the government? How do they participate willingly? Do they take, even if they take credit, that's all right? Or are they obstructing the process?
No, they don't obstruct. I think I don't exist for them. But yes, now and then the local collector, the local tahsildar, they would come. They will question me. Hey, why are you using this? Why are you using this? This is not allowed. That is not allowed because it is traditional and it can be a hazard. Then I'll have to go to the court. We always talk to the court. There is no
So
support
we are back to
absolutely from
what
the government.
Lakshyaraj is saying and what Babji is, what all of us say, which is that, if you say you don't exist, and all of us sitting here think you're a national treasure. So then there's a big mismatch. No, there's a big mismatch, If 70 plus years after independence, the government has still got to prove some point to the Maharajas, then we're really off track. That means we are not on the same page, So
I think we should accept that we sort of don't exist for the government. If they thought we are important and we have done something meaningful, the country should be far ahead. And the pangs that we are going through, fortunately for me, I don't like to talk about the pangs. I just go doing what I think is right and what should be done. And one day I'm able to prove to the government and to the people that is right. If government says, if I'm working towards increasing the per capita of the rural zones is wrong, then I think I need to fight my case. So they don't interfere, they don't stop me, but they allow me to do these things, whatever we have done.
Yes, you're
Yes.
right. No, I think we were talking on a few issues. You missed the last one, which was actually the best examples of environment and heritage in your state. And now whether tourism is a partial destroyer. I think yes, destroyer is a very strong word. But if you go to Simla, Mussoorie, it is a destroyer. I don't know if it is just tourism, but I think it's urbanization, because the numbers game, is something that defeats India. You make a parking lot, and your planning is so much behind time that the day the parking is ready, there's already double the number of cars already ready to park there. So we're never ahead of ourselves. So in heritage also, if they vaguely accept us on the margins of it, but I think, Babji, that the change has come. And Jose, don't you think that there is a change from when you began today, when you talk to the government, that they think that we are not all madmen?
Let me come to you from the context of our experience, both as an enterprise and as an industry sitting in Kerala. Now here at the beginning, Kerala, I would think, was a late starter in tourism. And the statement here is, red kept Kerala green. In other words, it kept the invest out, it kept the smokestack out. Its investments were in getting the highest rank in the subcontinent in HDI, the Human Development Index. Tourism was a dividend of that. Tourism grew in Kerala at a time when foreign investment, outside investment was refusing to come or afraid to come. Small local entrepreneurs did what they could, which was small, in a manner which they knew, which was local. So to their credit was that small, indigenous and small, could become world class. That's the Kerala story. Now, in the context of tourism, how did, in that context, from a state which is left and left of left, whatever the government is, we have a situation when tourism now has become the largest employment generator, the livelihood creator in the state. The statistics show that 1 out of 3 new jobs come out of tourism, and in a recent, what they call an investment summit, the Chief Minister's keynote address said that the 2 change agents of Kerala was, one, the phenomenon of NRK and tourism. NRK brings in remittances, tourism created livelihoods and jobs. It is in this context, it has changed. Kerala's landscape has been completely changed. It has been, and tourism has shown it befriended people. It has shown how we have to maintain our cultures, preserve our nature. All justifications for all that was brought in place. And this often repeated word that ease of doing business is required, but at a certain precondition, not at the cost of environment, not at the cost of our community. So from that context, from our enterprise context itself, in CGH, we started out our journey sometime in the mid-90s. Before that, in the Lakshyaraj, when
but